Hey everyone, this is going to be a quick tutorial on how to do an animated particle in Unity with an animated texture sheet. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a particle system first off. We're going to do game object particle system. Nice and simple. Zero this puppy out. Alright, so sometimes when you want to do something really specific, for a fighting game, action game, whatever it is you're doing, doesn't matter. Sometimes just regular particles just aren't going to cut it. You're just not going to be able to get the look that you want for just spawning, billboards, stretching them, moving them around, and stuff like that. Sometimes you need something a little bit fancier. So what we can do is we can create an animated particle billboard. So let me just set this guy up quickly, and I'll kind of show you the result, and then we'll go through step by step of how I made it. So I'm going to just spawn a particle at a time and do like a size 3, do a lifetime of 5. Actually, we'll do let's do a burst. So let's just do 1. All right, and then instead of doing any of the other crazy things here, we're going to do texture sheet animation. I'll turn that on. And then the material that I'm using will have to have the texture animated sheet in there. So let me just grab the one I already have made. Let me see, where are you? Okay, there we go. So let me throw my material on here. So now you'll see, let me turn off the speed here. So I'm just spawning this particle with a bunch of different images all on one texture. So if you look at it here, it's just a whole bunch of them. Now the idea is I'm going to crop this particle to only use one of these squares at a time, and then we're going to set it to cycle through all these different frames of an animation basically during its lifetime. So all you do is you throw the material that you want on there, and you have texture sheet animation on, and you tell it how many X and Y tiles you have. So we have 4, and then we have 2. So you'll see it's going to cycle through all my different different sheets there. You do a whole sheet, you do a single row. If you have a whole bunch on one sheet, you'd say how many times you want it to play this animation and all that. So right now it's really slow because it's 5 seconds. So let's just do 1 second. So now you'll see it's playing my sheet there. Let me just make this a sphere and make a tiny radius so we don't get any weird movement. So now it's playing through my animation. And now I can get something a lot more interesting going on than just particles. I could, it'd be really hard to get this look through a particle. And this isn't even really a complicated animation. You could do some really crazy stuff. The things people do with fire and explosions and stuff like that is quite amazing. So this is just a quick little one I made for our purposes. So it's like a little squiggly snake, and it hits and it kind of like blows up. And I'll show you what we'll do with this at the end. But let's make this from scratch. So on the particle side of things, it's not really hard to set up. The work comes in Photoshop. So let's take a look. So this is my texture here. This is kind of what we'll end up with. So this is all the different frames that it'll cycle through. And we'll have to paint those. So usually what I do is I kind of pick my size. So I'll make a new file. I hit Control-N to make a new file in Photoshop. However big you feel this particle needs to be. So if it's 256 by 256. And what I mean by this is each of these frames is going to be 256 pixels by 256 pixels. Remember, power of 2. So 128, 256, 512. So 256, pretty big. That should be more than enough, right, for my particle system. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on my layer just so it's not the background. I'm going to fill it in with black. And I'm going to start painting all the frames individually. Now I do them in this single layer here at first, and then export them to this just so I could see over top and help me visualize what it's going to look like. So I'm going to take my pen tool and I'll kind of start off by saying, maybe I'll make this one's very like whatever. So this is my first frame. So I'm going to select that, make selection. And then I'll fill it with, you know, white or whatever it is. So that's frame 1, let's say. This is obviously a lot worse. So now I'm going to do frame 2. So I could take my frame 1 and I could just set the opacity to be a lot lower just to kind of see where it is. So we start off, it's going to spawn a little ball. And next that ball is going to, you know, I made it kind of just spin in this like little, like it kind of grew. These might have to be flipped so it's a little small, bigger, and then it's going to turn into this like little zappy thing. So my next frame, you know, maybe I want it to be, you know, a rounder ball now. All right, so I'll draw that, make selection, and fill it. And I just kind of continue. So I could hide this frame. All right, I do frame 1, frame 2, frame 3. So I'll do the same thing. Now I'll make this one a little see-through, and I'll draw my next frame. And I'm only starting to kind of learn how to, you know, classically animate like this. Some people are amazing at it. It takes some time to really kind of understand the motion that you want from your particles. And again, this really is all about animation, and you know, getting a nice timing and feel right and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be my next one here. Right, I'll just kind of continue. So this one I might want a little lower, like it's starting to drop a little bit already. All right, and just continue. So, oops. Frame 4. You can add as many frames as you like, as long as they all fit into a row or 2 or 3 or 4 into your sheet afterwards. So if you haven't used the pen tool in Photoshop before, it's actually pretty good. I didn't really like it at first, but now I kind of got used to it. So with the pen tool, you can just drop some dots, right? So what's my next frame going to be? It's going to be more of a squiggle line. All right, so I'm not exactly following this, but so it's going to be, you know, like that. So you can just drop some lines if you want. If you click and just continue, it'll just make hard edges for you. If you click and drag, it'll add a Bezier handle for you, just like in Max. Right, so you can add those. Now, the thing I always say about doing spline or vector work like this is add as little points as you can, because you could edit them after. Don't worry about getting it perfect the first time. So once you have your shape made, you can click on it, make sure the pen tool is selected. With the control button held down, you can move around each point, and you can move around the handles, so you could get something that looks really good. If you're not happy with the handle that you have, you can hold Alt and you get this little little like triangle button there, and you can click and drag and it'll turn it into a Bezier handle. Or if you just click it, it'll go back to being a smooth or a corner. And I'll just move around so you get your shape right. All right. The one I used for the other one is a lot more hard edge, kind of stylish. This one is a little bit rounder, more like water or something like that. And then once you're done with your shape, you can go right click, make selection, and then just use the fill tool to fill that. You can keep all your shapes around under paths if you want to. So if you don't, like I'm destroying my shapes basically every time I do that. If you don't want to do that, you can go to 5. So now I want to draw my next guy here. So I'm going to go to my paths. I'm going to start a new layer for my path. So there's the work path. This is the one that always gets cleared out after you're done. If you do new paths, they'll stick around. So then I could do a new guy here, whatever. Oops. Close it off, edit. Right, and I can go make selection, fill that in, and you'll see, even though my I filled it in and it's all done, if I go to paths, my path is still here. And I can click on this path and I can still edit it. So it doesn't get destroyed. And every time I make a new path, so that way I could keep these guys around, and if I ever want to edit them, I don't have to start from scratch. So that's kind of a nice thing. So, so what we're going to do, you're going to just continue making your different shapes, your different frames. Now when you're done, it's a little bit annoying. So when you're done, you're going to make a new scene, and you're going to figure out how big your stuff takes, right? So if you're doing, what was that one, 256? So if I'm going to do 4 by 2, that's going to be 256, 512, so 1024 by 512, right? So we'll do 1024 by 512. All right, so we'll start that guy. Now the problem with putting them together on a sheet, now there might be a better way to do it, and if somebody knows it, please let me know, because this is annoying. I'm sure there's programs that are much better at doing this. So, let's show you one annoying thing. You need to bring all these things in and have them snap together perfectly, because when you bring into Unity, it's just going to divide these equally by whatever numbers you put in. So if I just make this background black and I start dragging in my frames, well, I don't know exactly where I want to place these. So what I do is I bring in the frame and the background image at the same time. So what I'll do is I'll click on both of these and I will shift drag over here. And that way I have two of these guys, and if I have my view snap on, at least they'll snap into place. And I can do that for, you know, frame 2, and at least I can snap them. So it's not ideal, but this works for me. It doesn't take a ton of time to combine this after. All right, so you do that and you see I have them all nicely stacked up there. So frame 5, continue on. There we go, snap it in. All right, so then you draw the rest of your frames, add them in there. You can do whatever you want to these guys after if you want. So I can take all the black frames once I'm done. If I don't care about keeping them, I could just, oops, I could just get rid of them all. And turn my background black. And then I could combine these guys if I want, and then, you know, do like a glow on them if I wanted to make it a little fancier. So double click, add an image effect, do an outer glow or whatever it is, you know, you want to do. Make them a little fancier, right? You know, whatever, that kind of thing. I kind of did that to my last texture a little bit too. So we add them all in there. We're all happy with them to go. Now I'm going to be using an additive particle system. So what additive does is it just anything white, you can see it. Anything black is going to be see-through basically. If I wanted to add an alpha blend texture, I would need to make a alpha channel for these. So what I did here is, because a glow, if I select the selection of this, it's not going to select my actual glow of this. So I could just flatten it to a frame, but because it's black and white, I could just actually flatten this whole thing down. So if I take my image at some point, flatten my image, I can just hit Control A, Control C, copy the whole thing, go to my channels tab over here, add an alpha channel and paste that in. And that way, if I want to use a alpha channel instead of an additive, I can. I'll have this see-through right now. So, oh, excuse me. So this is my my muzzle flash one here. I didn't do that for this one, but I can. So I can go in here. All right, add the new one, paste my alpha channel, and I'll show you why we're doing that if we actually need it. So then you take your texture, you save it as, I'm gonna save this as B, just so it's there. And then when you hit save, make sure you set it as a 32-bit, so that way you get your alpha channel if you're using it. If not, 24-bit's fine. So we're done our texture painting. I mean, I'm not going to do a giant tutorial on this, so this is really up to you to figure out the frames and getting it looking right and all that. So we're going to go back to Unity. I'm going to let that import. And then we have this guy. So again, I made a new material. Let me bring this over. So I'm going to take my new material. This is Muzzle Flash B. And then right now, so it's set to particle additive. So I'm just going to select, where are you? So I'm going to select the new one here, and I'll show you why we made that alpha channel. So right now, my particle is set to additive. So again, anything black it's see-through. Anything white is going to be there. Anything white we could change the color of. If we do a multiply, particle system multiply, it'll be the opposite kind of thing. All the darkness will show up. But if I wanted to do a particle system alpha blended, it's not using it for some reason. Well, thanks for making me a liar. Oh, I haven't actually switched my material. I made my material. There we go. So now, because I made an alpha for that guy, you'll see it's actually under the alpha blended shader, which I don't have set anymore. Alpha blend. It'll actually stay that. It'll stay see-through. So if I use my old texture for this, it wouldn't do that because I didn't have that alpha channel in there. So sometimes you might want that. If you need an alpha channel, I just wanted to quickly show you how to do it and what for and all that kind of stuff. But for moi, additive works well. So I added my material. Under my material, I added the texture that we just made. I dragged it into the material slot of my particle system. You turn on texture sheet animation. Then you set how many rows and columns you have. So for mine, it was 4 by 2. Let's just take a look here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So 4 by 2. And it's going to go left to right and then from top to bottom. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again, you could add a really, like this is, you can see it's kind of choppy. So you could really add a smooth animation in there if you want to make, 12 by 12 or whatever it is. And again, I could do a single row. So if I just wanted to do that first row, I could. And if I wanted to do a whole sheet, I could as well. Now, the most important part of once you kind of get this done is this actual frame over time thing. It's pretty sweet. So they give you a curve. Now, this will determine how these tiles get displayed over the course of your duration or your lifetime. So right now it's linear. It's just going to go from 0 to 1. It's just going to do each frame for the exact amount of time over that 1 second, which is fine if that's what you want, if you did your timing really well. But if I wanted my timing to be really different, I could set this up. So now you'll see what's going to happen is it's going to do the first bunch of frames really quick and it's going to slow down. So it's going to go really fast and stop, really fast and stop. So now I can change that up. Now if I did it the other way, it could go really slow. Oh, well, actually I'm doing it the opposite, so I'm playing it backwards. But if I did this guy, it's going to go really slow and then fast, slow, fast. So now I could change this stuff up. And I could, I could mess around with all that. So I can make it go backwards, forwards in time, whatever I want. So this graph is actually pretty sweet. So if I wanted it to go, really fast in the beginning, let's do broken handles. So if I go really fast and just kind of stick on that last frame for a while, I could do that too. So this is really cool. So you kind of determine, how long, what frame, and kind of go through that. So you see here we have 8 frames. So halfway through, I want it to be, it's already on frame 7, and it's going to hold frame 1 for all of this last duration. So I can kind of set that up however I want. So this is really important in actually making your animations feel really good, right? Sometimes you want to slow in, slow out, that kind of stuff. So play around with this graph quite a bit. Cycles will let you do things. If I wanted this to play twice every frame or every 1 second, I could do that if I wanted to. Again, depends on what your thing is. Now, this is where the pivot comes in handy too. So right now I have the pivot here. So if I wanted to do a random, randomize start direction, I did between 2 constants, and I did, 25 or probably more than that because it's stupid. So now you see it's cool. It's kind of rotating in random directions, but it's always crossing the center. It's going to be really hard for me to figure out what I want to do with this. But if I take my pivot under the renderer and I do minus 0.5, now it's hitting the bottom here, maybe like that. Now when I do my random direction of 360, it's always hitting the center. All right, so what I ended up using this guy for is I made like a charge effect for a weapon. And what I did is instead of burst, I just did like 5 of these or something. And it kind of looks like sperm attacking an egg. But, so I did random between, 1 and 2 or whatever. Maybe not 2, maybe like 0.5. And then various sizes, so maybe, between 3 and 5. And now it kind of, so my idea was that it energy was kind of spawning in the air and then going to a ball. And then I had a ball over top of this. I'll show you the effect that I had. But now because I changed my pivot and this rotation actually acts around this center point and they can all go towards it, I can have some fun with this effect, right? Changing around where it spawns, how it spawns, and all that kind of stuff. So, so that's pretty much it. And the rest of it is kind of up to you, making stuff fade, rotate, over lifetime, do whatever you want. So I'll show you the final effect that I'm doing. Characters, weapons. What's this one? So this was my final effect here, I believe. Oh, I messed around with that material just to show you guys. Particles, additive. So this was kind of my final effect. So I did a pulsing glow in here, right? So I did a circle. I did the main kind of dude. I did some of this fluff. So all it is a circle, and with negative speed. So they start from the shell. So my particles get spawned on the outside of the sphere, and the negative speed makes them travel to the inside of the sphere. So I did that, and then I had a fluff out. So just a couple particles escaping all this pulling. All right, maybe the idea was maybe this is where they're colliding. There's a couple things escaping. And then my main one is just this guy here. It's just the particles all combining. And when you put them all together, you could have something that's really fun. So this is like a charged weapon, Mega Man, Metroid kind of feel to it. So that's kind of it. That's a texture sheet quick tutorial. I hope it's helpful. Again, the heart of this entire thing, I mean, it's not very hard to set up. It's all about your animation. So if your animation kicks ass, it's going to be pretty bitchin'. So good luck. Hope you like it.